So I've been asked to do a video on cleansing, and I'm not exactly sure how much I'm going to be able to get to. So many different types of cleansing that you can do, but I guess I'll focus on the stuff that I have not. There's a lot of different magic you can use for cleansing that I've already talked about. And I guess I'll focus more on the kind of stuff I haven't talked about yet. So in cleansing, just your basic cleansing, you're going to either need one of two things. You're going to either need some sort of herbs or relics or just raw energy, raw elements that you use to cleanse with, or you're going to need the natural ability in your blood that you might just be born with to be able to do cleansing magic. So you're either going to have to take something like that has the cleansing magic within it. A good example is herbs, because if you ever do smudging with herbs, basically what you're doing is you're lighting the herbs on fire and letting the smoke kind of just permeate throughout the area, and that cleanses things. So you're either going to have to take something like that has a natural cleansing ability, or it's going to have to be something, if you're just standing there with just you and nothing else, then you're going to have that cleansing ability within yourself. The easiest thing to do is take something like herbs or something like that. And yes, there are specific kinds of herbs. Some people use white sage, some people use wood chips, some people use mugwort, wormwood, stuff like that. Really sweetgrass. I mean, really there's a lot of different things that you could potentially use. Those are just some of the common ones, but does that mean that's the only one? No, there are a lot of different things that you can use. So when you're talking about what you're physically using, that's half of it, but the other half is that you have to do the work of, kind of orchestrating all this. There's usually some kind of unless you just naturally have that ability, there's usually some kind of ritual that you'll have to do. And I really warn against just looking up on the internet or even trusting some random person to tell you how that has to be done, because unfortunately there's a lot of what I like to say, people who are dressing up as the person trying to help, but instead really they're just making it 10 times worse on you. Unfortunately, there's a lot of people with intent out there that you can't trust what they're saying. So especially if they insist that they come do it for you, that is even more of a red flag. So anyway, moving on. So if it's cleansing just typical negativity, that's sort of a much more basic thing. If you're having to cleanse actual energy, like actual spirits from somewhere, say I have to cleanse some kind of negative spirit from a house, that's a little more complicated. You have to set up a warding to make sure that the spirit can't come back after you cleanse it. Basically, the cleansing is going to push them out. But if you don't set the warding up, that's what a lot of people forget to do. If you don't set the warding up, they'll come right back. And I have a video about warding magic as well. It's in the protection, I think, magic playlist. But basically, something that sets it in stone. Something that really sets it in stone. And the way that ancient paganism goes about this is probably a lot different than even modern paganism, much less Abrahamic stuff. I know that's different. But for it to really work, the key factor is you have to prevent it from coming back. And a lot of people, will they'll be sitting there just doing cleansing after cleansing because they only warded against one thing. Well, you might as well just set up the ward for any and every that comes along, so that you only have to do this once. Another thing that you can do, if it's more like energy, or well, not energy, but if it's some kind of it's just going more than just negativity, and it's getting into a physical thing where it's physically affecting your body and you have to physically expel it. Now you're talking about cleansing chakras and cleansing the actual physical body. It can be even 10, 20 plus more times difficult to do this sort of physical magic. Some people, especially some probably in modern paganism, don't believe in the physical magic. We in ancient paganism do believe in the physical magic. It's just a lot more difficult to achieve. But when you get into stuff that's physical like that, you're talking about expelling somebody that's got so much taintedness in them. You're trying to cleanse them of a deadly infection, and that infection has already grown systemic, and you're having to cleanse their entire body of that systemic infection that they would otherwise die of. I mean, that's going to take a lot, and wherever you push it out, you're cleansing it, it's going to go somewhere. It's going to go somewhere. Or you have to destroy it. One or the other. And something that massive is going to be probably difficult to destroy completely. So it'd be easier to send it somewhere. Where the fuck are you going to send it? I mean, you have to have a plan for that, or just going to go everywhere. So this very physical magic ends up being quite physical. And we talk about pure intent and sacred permission, and all that comes into play as well. If you don't know what that is, it's worth watching those basic videos to know what that is, because that is what makes or breaks when it gets into something this complicated, especially. That's what makes or breaks whether or not the magic you're doing actually works. If you don't have that at play, and that's where a lot of people mess up, and that's a lot of what people make mistakes, then it can't work, literally cannot work. So, that kind of physical stuff, let's just think about that for a second. Really, to do something that powerful, that extensive, cleansing, you always have the idea that it's never going to come back, right? So typically you're going to send it to a place where it can't hurt anything or anyone, or you're going to send it to some kind of ill intent that's deserving of it, that you have sacred permission to send it to. The other catch to this is that you have to have confidence. If you're doing a cleansing and you are fretting that you can't do something, then that lack of confidence is basically going to self-sabotage everything that you're trying to accomplish. Unfortunately, in magic, a lot of it is based off of intent, and you believing or even fearing that you cannot succeed actually becomes your intent, and it just shoots down all the magic right there, right then and there. If you don't believe that you can do it, if you don't believe that it will work, that gets entangled deeply, very deeply into your overall intent. And it prohibits anything from happening. If you're sitting there having a lot of difficulty, and this is for anything really, if you're sitting there having a lot of difficulty pushing away that lack of confidence, this is the best I can tell you that will fix that. That will fix that problem. If you are underconfident, just give you an example, a physical example. If you are underconfident versus if you are overly arrogant, either way it's just as bad as in terms of how the outcome is. If I have never thrown, say I'm throwing some kind of a hammer or something up in the air and I want to catch it. I say a hammer because it does have a little bit of wrath if it hits you in the head. So throw it way up there, and say I've never actually tried to catch it before, and I'm exceptionally arrogant that I'm going to catch it. I'm just like, you know what, I don't even have to look because I just know I'm going to catch it. It's going to hit me right in the head. If I'm sitting there just, I can't catch this, there's no way I can catch this, there's absolutely no way that I can catch this, you know, I overthink about it, it's going to hit me in the head. But if I just don't think at all, if I don't think anything of the outcome, good or bad, if I don't predict good or bad the outcome, and I don't think anything at all, and I just look up there and watch it and instinctively grab it, 9 times out of 10 I'm going to catch it. So that's what you have to do basically. You have to just not think about what the outcome is going to be. You can't think at all, okay, I'm going to fail, or I'm, you can't have one way or the other. You can't have a prediction one way or the other. You just have to do it without predicting any kind of outcome.